Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the ME-Arcone Queing podcast, a podcast where we explore the world of ADR, the people who, the stories behind it, and the people who truly make it move. If you've been enjoying these conversations, please do not hesitate to leave a comment down below. Your feedback truly helps us grow. A brief introduction from my side. My name is Katlego Bridget Tlhokwani, and I'm from Botswana, currently studying law in New Delhi, India. And I'm an intern at the Institute for Alternative Dispute Resolution here in New Delhi. And a brief about the podcast. ME-Arcone Queing is a podcast initiative by the Institute for Alternative Dispute Resolution, where we explore how conflict can be resolved smarter through mediation, arbitration, negotiation, and other people-centered approaches. This season, however, we are zooming out and we are crossing borders. Season 12 focuses on an Indo-African perspectives where we create a space for professionals from India and Africa to share their insights, experiences, and lessons from their unique legal landscapes, where we can help and learn from one another and shape the future of dispute resolution. Now, today we have been blessed with the presence of Mr. Shalom Bright Omondi, a Kenyan legal professional and researcher with a strong background in commercial law, alternative dispute resolution, and the intersection of law and technology. Shalom holds a Bachelor of Laws degree from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology and is currently an advocate trainee at the Kenya School of Law, where he is actively engaged in conveyancing and commercial transactions. He has demonstrated notable leadership within the ADR space, having served as president of the Young Arbitrar Society, and he's also an active student member of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators Kenya branch. His professional interests extend to technology law, ADR, blockchain law, and conveyancing, areas in which he has shown both academic depth and practical engagement. In addition to that, Shalom is a certified professional mediator, a trained data protection officer, and holds qualifications from the NCIA, all of which reinforce his multidisciplinary and forward-looking approach to dispute resolution and compliance. As a contributor to both the NCIA ADR Journal and the CR Kenya ADR Journal, he has published insightful articles examining the future of arbitration, the role of technology in dispute management, and emerging trends in legal innovation. His recognition through the Dr. Kariuki Muiga ADR Essay Award further reflects his growing influence in the Kenyan ADR landscape. Combining legal insight, academic rigor, research, and leadership, Shalom Bright Omondi represents a new generation of African legal professionals who are thoughtfully bridging traditional legal practice with technology-driven legal reform and the evolving future of dispute resolution. Mr. Shalom, it is a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and being here.
Thank you as well for having me.
It's a pleasure. We'll move on now to the question segment. Mr. Shalom, your work really sits at the intersection of commercial law, ADR, and technology, which is such a dynamic space. I'm very curious, what first drew you toward dispute resolution as a core area of interest instead of taking a more traditional litigation-focused approach?
Thank you for that question. And maybe I can take it back to my days in university.
Okay.
Actually, my first interaction with dispute resolution, or more so alternative dispute resolution, was during my time as a member of the Young Arbitrar Society.
Okay.
And that was the first time I got to interact with matters of arbitration and mediation mainly, especially through not only webinars, but also through mooting. Okay. And one of the things that was really hammered into my head during that time was the need to promote alternative forms of dispute resolution in Kenya. Because actually one of the issues we were having and we're still having in Kenya is an issue of having too many cases, an issue of backlogs in the court systems. And there's been a need for these cases to now be referred and to be resolved in a quick and efficient manner. Because I don't know about in other countries, but in Kenya, a case can even take multiple years in court. And we've had this issue with the judiciary. You can go see in the Kenyan e-judiciary system where there's just multiple cases. So during my time in university, when I was first learning about alternative dispute resolution, that was one of the first things that I got from all this. And actually, that's what really helped me look away from litigation, which is very adversarial, and more towards leaning towards the parties resolving the dispute by themselves. So actually, that was one of the first ways. And also, I used to moot a lot. I don't know if you've heard about mooting.
Yes, we do have the concept aside.
Yeah, so I used to do a lot of moots as well in university before. Mainly arbitration.
Okay.
So, like, for instance, the foreign direct investment arbitration moots that dealt with international investment of investors within states and state investor disputes. But I did do a few mediation moots, and I found them to be interesting as well because, unlike arbitration moots or even moots in general, in mediation moots, it's not about winning.
Exactly.
It's about it's about completing the mediation. And, I think that's one thing I've been able to, take on to my mediation career. Most of the time, it's not about who's winning or who's losing. It's about both sides coming together and completing the mediation so you can finally sign that mediation agreement.
Exactly.
So those are just some of the preliminary areas how I even got into looking at alternative dispute resolution versus litigation.
That's beautiful.
Now, I'm not saying litigation has completely failed. We still need it. I mean, it's the only way courts can move, and it's actually one of the reasons why you have the judiciary, because of litigation. Some parties don't want to find a solution, but for the other parties who want to find a solution and want to solve disputes amicably and within a good period of time, then we can move towards alternative dispute resolution.
Beautiful. That's beautiful to know. I relate to you on the fact that you met with, or let's say you interacted with ADR in university. I'm currently also in university right now. I'm in my last year, and this route is the one I'm very much excited to take. So that's very beautiful.
Congrats.
Thank you so much. As a certified professional mediator, Shalom, working within the Kenyan context, I'd love to understand the practical side a bit more. What does the mediation process actually look like on the ground? And generally, how open are parties to choosing mediation over formal litigation mechanisms?
Okay. So maybe I can just give you a quick background. So mediation is entrenched in Kenyan legislation, and the supreme law of the land is the Constitution of Kenya.
Okay.
So under the Constitution of Kenya, you have Article 159, Sub-Article 2C, which calls for the promotion of alternative forms of dispute resolution. Some of them include arbitration, mediation, conciliation, and negotiation. But of course, the most often utilized ones are arbitration and mediation. So now when it comes to, I'll give you the example, arbitration, we have, for instance, the implementation of the Arbitration Act in Kenya, along with arbitration rules, which can be used, ad hoc or institutional. And we also have the Nairobi Center for International Arbitration Rules. Now, for mediation, it's a bit more freestyled per se, in as much as we have the implementation of the mediation through the Civil Procedure Act, most of the times you can either have parties preferring to go mediation through an institution or through the courts. So in Kenya, we have a system where it's called court annexed mediation, where you can have the courts come in, right, and guide the process of mediation in Kenya. So, for instance, I don't know if you've heard of the exhaustion principle, the doctrine of exhaustion of legal remedies, exhaustion of all traditional remedies
before going to the court. Yes.
In court, exactly. So under this doctrine of exhaustion, most of the time, if the court, if a matter is taken to court and the court sees that this matter can be referred to mediation, then they will refer the matter to mediation. Actually, most of the time, they will ask the parties, "Have you guys conducted a mediation?"
Exactly.
And if they haven't, then the court will refer the parties to mediation. And if that mediation fails, it can be taken back to court. Because, as you know, Kenyan courts, there's a desire for parties to, reconcile, even with this neutral third party who acts as the mediator. So in those instances, we can see how mediation and the court's intervention is hand in hand, side by side. So mediation actually has been recognized in Kenya as one of the newest and most preferred forms of dispute resolution, actually. The judiciary has actually talked about this in great detail. And in Kenya, for instance, there's actually been a shift from arbitration to mediation. And one thing that you'll note about Kenya is Kenya has one of the most entrenched systems when it comes to litigation and arbitration, I think, in all of Africa. In fact, one of the main reasons, you can go check out this case about even the role of courts in alternative dispute resolution. It's called Mutu Agrovet versus Airtel Networks Limited. It really talks about the entrenchment of courts and if arbitration has really been working in Kenya. So parties have actually preferred now these days, in this day and age, mediation in Kenya versus even arbitration, negotiation, or even over construction adjudication as well. And mediation has unlocked billions of shillings in Kenya versus, taking the traditional method. So parties have moved and shifted towards mediation as a form of not only speeding the process, but also to prevent us lawyers, from dictating. One of the things that us lawyers do is that we like dictating and, control the process. And I think you've seen that in arbitration, where you find now even arbitration goes from looking more like a form of dispute resolution to now mini court.
Exactly.
Per se. Someone objects over minuscule issues that should be handled maybe by an arbitral court, and they take it now to a court. For instance, you object over the appointment of an arbitrator, which is not a bad thing, but these things, they slow down the process and they delay the inevitable. You object over the issuing of the award, you object over the enforcement of the award. Very, very, very small issues, but which lead, over time, they lead now to a loss of investor confidence. And at the end of the day, we're dealing with a business.
Exactly.
If we lose investor confidence, we lose the whole train. Actually, I was coming from, there was a few days in Kenya the president of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators
Yes,
had his
I saw
inaugural address.
it.
You saw it?
Yes, I saw it on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm connected with a few.
Yeah, great guy. But one of the things he was talking about was his concern over the what? How arbitration, right?
Mm-hmm.
How we can separate arbitration from being influenced too much by lawyers,
Okay.
and take it back to the arbitration, the dispute resolution that it was initially meant for. It was initially created for when, arbitration was being used by merchants, of years ago, as a form of resolving their disputes internally versus where it is now. So these are just some of the things that show us how alternative dispute resolution, especially arbitration, has been looked down upon, and how parties are moving towards mediation now. And we even see it in the courts, even in Kenya. Okay, I won't talk about mediation, but in Kenya, ADR is used in very many different areas of the legal system, including the criminal process as well.
Okay.
In limited instances, you can even have, if parties agree, of course, you can have the utilization of reconciliation mechanisms between parties for certain offenses. But for mediation in Kenya, what I can say as of now, it's being used in commercial disputes, family disputes. I don't think criminal, because criminal is just reconciliation. But I do know commercial and family disputes majorly.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And if possible, can you please just type the name of the case that you mentioned earlier in the chat box? I think it would be. I'll also mention it in the description of the video when we post it. Yes, I had a conversation with the beautiful magistrate from Kenya, actually, for my first episode, where she also relayed about the alternative justice system being used in Kenya, where basically the customary ways of dispute resolution are being integrated into the justice system, which I believe is a beautiful thing, especially as Africans, because dispute resolution for us Africans comes from way back. It's not a new thing. So this integrates with my next question, where we look at Africa as, having long-standing customary ways of resolving disputes. So how do you think African legal systems can meaningfully integrate these traditional approaches into formal ADR frameworks without losing the cultural essence, as I've seen Kenya has been successful enough to do?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I think one of the ways is to provide, first of all, an inclusive framework, which we have attempted to do. The idea of inclusivity is entrenched in our constitution as well.
Sorry to disturb you, Shalom. We have like maybe 20 minutes, less than 20 minutes. So,
okay.
Yes.
It's fine. Yeah, so, this idea of providing for an inclusive framework, especially for this idea of being an inclusive framework that allows for a community-led system, right? And we have attempted to do this, especially, I know the drafters of the Constitution had this idea in mind, especially with the guise of Article 159, which allows for the promotion of traditional dispute resolution mechanisms, including alternative justice systems. So we have a framework in place. Now, the only issue is the implementation of that framework now. Bringing in communities. And, one way we can do this is not only through community-led initiatives, but also through trainings of such communities, training them with the formal, right? The formal approach to maybe mediation and arbitration. And also, I think the judiciary should ensure that they should have more mechanisms that allow for recognition of decisions by community members, which is most often usually ignored.
Exactly.
Because most of the time you'll find most of these community decisions are made orally, and they're not usually transcribed down in paper. And usually when a community member, like a clan leader, makes a decision, in our cultural setting, parties usually abide by them. But for them to be now brought into the system, some training to allow them to record these decisions that they make, and even the processes of how they make these decisions would, allow for greater coordination between not only the judiciary, but also the judiciary and the community as well. So we can allow for this, the advantage of recording is it allows for the preservation of information and, traditional rights and oral rights, for instance. So I think that's some of the things we can do besides training, intercoordination between the government sectors and also the informal sectors as well.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I really think, as a young Botswana, if I look at Botswana and Kenya, I think we have a lot to learn from what you guys are doing in terms of alternative dispute resolution. So I truly, truly appreciate it. And, we're the young up-and-coming lawyers. It's our job to make sure, there's a change that's happening. So,
yeah.
If you were given an opportunity to reform just one aspect of dispute resolution system across Africa, where would you begin and what would you prioritize first?
Thank you for that. As I've spoken, and I think I've alluded to greatly in this talk that we're having, it's the interference of courts. I think. Especially, I'll talk majorly about arbitration because I do understand in mediation, court interference is not that big of an issue. And it is needed because sometimes parties might not realize the fact that they might need to refer this matter to mediation. And also, court interference in mediation has led to, a reducing of cases in the judiciary, which has been very helpful for the judges, and in Kenya. But for arbitration, we have had this issue, and I think one of the things I would do is I would amend the Arbitration Act.
Okay.
I'm speaking in Kenya majorly because it's a very big issue. I've always wondered if there's a supply distribution agreement between two parties, one is in Rwanda and the other is in Nairobi, why should the dispute resolution agreement, place the seat of arbitration in London? Yes,
exactly.
You get me?
Yeah, that's one of the points that my previous guest mentioned, that like institution building here in Africa, let's have the seat closer to home. Let's bring it closer to home.
Exactly. We should bring it closer to home. And I'll tell you the reason why sometimes the seat is in foreign countries is because people don't trust local seats.
Exactly.
And in Kenya, people don't trust the seat of Nairobi because of court interference. Don't give an arbitral tribunal the power to make the final say. The principle of finality is a concept that is continuously challenged by courts in Kenya. You'll find, for instance, Section 10 saying Section 10 of the Arbitration Act providing for finality of an arbitral award. But then you go now to Section 35 of the Arbitration Act. It provides for instances where you can make an appeal to the High Court. And of course, in Kenya, when you appeal to the High Court, automatically you can appeal to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court, breaking this idea of finality in arbitration. So for me, I would amend the Arbitration Act to provide for more stringent measures to limit the power of courts in arbitrations. We can return it back to, what arbitration was intended to be. Because if you have courts interfering in arbitration from beginning to the end, then what is the point of arbitration?
Exactly.
There's no use. It becomes inefficient. It becomes expensive. It becomes, it takes forever. And parties generally are discouraged. All things that are from litigation.
Avoiding litigation, we're bringing it back to the alternative dispute to arbitration.
Bringing it back to alternative dispute resolution. So that's one thing I would do, and I think I would follow what Nigeria did. Instead of having an appellate mechanism that is run that is initiated through the courts, I would now create a new appellate body, an arbitral court, which is guided by the Act, and its jurisdiction is maintained and enforced as a result of the Act versus courts. I wouldn't remove courts entirely, because of course there are some matters that might need the intervention of the courts, especially if you're dealing with anything that has to do with bias or maybe a matter of public policy. But 90% of the time, what I've seen, if it can be done through mediation effectively without much interference from courts, then I believe it can be done through arbitration. I don't know what stops us. Yeah. So maybe that's just one of the things that would change.
It's beautiful. And I agree with you on those points that you made. We still have a lot to learn, but I believe, it's a start, And
yeah, it's
definitely it's a start. And finally, on a hopeful note, piggybacking off of this previous point, when you look at the direction of arbitration and mediation, what gives you the most confidence and optimism about the future of ADR in Africa?
In Africa?
Yes.
I think the role and I think this speaks to me and you. Yes. I believe we're both Gen Zs, right?
Indeed.
I believe it's the role that us young people are playing in alternative dispute resolution in Africa mainly. For instance, in Kenya, 10 years ago, there was the young members group wasn't really a thing in Kenya, and arbitration was majorly being run and being controlled by the older generation. I think that is one thing that has really improved, and it's one thing that we can improve upon. Bringing our own ideas of what arbitration is and mediation is, and contributing as the youth. And I think it's something I've really been able to see, especially amongst us young people, through publications, and not only through publications, but also through our contribution to even reports that are done on ADR in the world. And if we continue along this path, then I believe we can really change, what it means to be an ADR practitioner, and even bring to light more issues that affect ADR practitioners, especially African practitioners, globally, where we're underrepresented, issues such as gender diversity, I know, for instance, is such a big idea, a big issue as well. And, other issues as well. And I think that's one thing that really gives me hope. And I know that with with um, with enough determination, we can really bring a positive impact and just bring change. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Um, that's very beautiful. Do you have any advice for us young law students? Yeah.
I'm young too. I'm young too.
But we can learn from each other. We still can learn from each other. If you have anything you'd like, anything
Yeah.
that's been working for you, we're all ears.
One thing that's been working for me, as an arbitrator, keep standing out. Like what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's going to take you very far, especially as an arbitrator. Keep standing out. Um, keep standing out. There's so many
Opportunities.
ADR practitioners out there.
Mhm.
If you want to work and do arbitration, you have to be nominated and appointed, and there's usually a list of arbitrators they'll go to select, and they need to see the type of work that you're doing. And my philosophy is always that out of every 10,000 people, every single person is different, but you're offering the same thing. Now the question is, how is that going to benefit me, right, as the person in this world? What are you offering to me? So that means getting your skills up, learning more, reading more, but publishing. Don't be afraid of your voice. Use your voice. Someone out there is watching, especially these institutions like Singapore International Arbitration Center, which I've worked with them and I got that through, talking and, writing and publishing.
Out there.
Exactly. Putting yourself out there. If you're able to do that efficiently and be consistent, there's nothing that can stop you. But from personal practical experience, one thing that's really helped me and is very important for any ADR practitioner is write.
Okay.
Write research papers, write articles. All those, you can get scholarships from these things. The University of Miami offers a full-time scholarship for a research competition. You can go check that out. There's the Young ICCA, which publishes articles as well. When you write, people see you. When they see you, they want you. That as our ADR practitioners, our knowledge is our money. So do that, and the money will follow you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us today. And I truly appreciate your insights. I appreciate the work you are putting into, bettering ADR in Kenya, which ultimately helps it make better in Africa as a whole. So I truly appreciate it. Keep going. And your advice is beautiful. I hope to all the viewers listening, like he said, put yourself out there, be different. The pool is very large, so try and stand out, try and be different. Find a skill in you that will help you stand out, and just nurture that skill and sharpen it. And like he said, the sky is the limit. Thank you, Shalom, again for being here with me today. And to the viewers, I hope...
Thank you as well.
Yes, I hope you've gotten something, even if it's 1%, that is still something. Thank you again. See you in the next episode of ME-Arcone Queing.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।